Picture a land between two rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates. This, my friends, is where our story begins, in ancient Mesopotamia, home to Sumeria. A land of fertile plains and abundant resources. A cradle of civilization that gave birth to some of the earliest city-states in human history, Eridu, Uruk, Ur. Each name echoes with tales of ingenuity, resilience, and a thirst for understanding that would shape the world as we know it. Now, imagine the time around 4,000 years before Christ. The world was a different place back then. Nomadic tribes roamed the earth, living off the land. But in this fertile region between the Tigris and Euphrates, something extraordinary happened. Those nomadic tribes began to settle. They started cultivating the land, taming the wild grains, raising livestock, and as they settled, they built not just homes, but an entire civilization. These were the Sumerians, a people who embraced the challenge of taming nature. They built canals for irrigation, turning the arid land into a breadbasket. They invented the wheel, forever changing transportation and warfare. And they developed a system of writing, cuneiform, which allowed them to record their history, their laws, their beliefs. The city-states of Eridu, Uruk, and Ur emerged from this crucible of innovation. These weren't just settlements. They were bustling urban centers with temples that reached for the heavens, ziggurats that stood as testament to their architectural prowess, and palaces that housed their rulers. Each city-state was a beacon of civilization, shedding light on the path towards progress. But these city-states were more than just physical constructs. They were the embodiment of an idea, the idea that people could come together, create something larger than themselves, and leave a lasting mark on the world. They were proof that humanity could rise above its primitive roots and build a society that would stand the test of time. These city-states were the stepping stones to what would become one of the most influential civilizations in human history. Before the rise of these city-states, Sumerians led a nomadic lifestyle, but all that was about to change. Imagine a world where wandering tribes roamed, their lives dictated by the whims of nature and the availability of resources. This was the life of the early Sumerians. However, around 4,000 years before Christ, an evolution began to take shape. The Sumerians gradually transitioned from a nomadic society, dependent on hunting and gathering, to becoming settlers, harnessing the power of the land through the advent of agriculture. This shift was not just a change in lifestyle, it was a revolution that would lay the foundations of civilization as we know it. With agriculture, the Sumerians could now lead a settled life. They built homes, formed communities, and eventually these clusters of dwellings grew into what would become the first city-states like Eridu, Uruk, and Ur. But it wasn't just the emergence of cities that marked this epoch. The Sumerians began to construct monumental structures, a testament to their evolving society. Temples and ziggurats towered over the cities, reflecting the Sumerians' deep-seated religious beliefs and their newfound ability to command the resources and labor necessary to build such edifices. Yet perhaps the most transformative development during this period was the invention of cuneiform writing. This was no ordinary feat. For the first time in human history, knowledge could be recorded and passed down generations. Cuneiform writing became the lifeblood of Sumerian society, used for everything from recording harvests and trade transactions to inscribing laws and religious texts. In essence, the transition from a nomadic lifestyle to a settled one was a pivotal moment in human history. It heralded the dawn of civilization, marked by the rise of city-states, monumental architecture, and the advent of writing. Thus, from wandering nomads, the Sumerians transformed into an organized urban society. With the rise of city-states came a new social structure. As the Sumerian society evolved, so did its social hierarchy. At the top were the kings and priests, revered as intermediaries between the gods and the people. These leaders were not only responsible for religious ceremonies, but also for implementing laws and maintaining order. Beneath the ruling elite, the Sumerian society was organized into distinct social classes. The nobility, comprised of officials and high-ranking priests, held significant power and influence. Then came the commoners, a class that included merchants, farmers, and laborers. Despite the disparity in wealth and power among these classes, everyone had a role to play in Sumerian society. The lowest rung of the social ladder was occupied by slaves, typically prisoners of war or people who had fallen into debt. Slavery, while a grim aspect of Sumerian society, was an integral part of their economic system. Slaves worked in fields, homes, and even in construction projects, contributing to the growth and prosperity of the city-states. Now let's take a virtual walk through a typical Sumerian city-state. Imagine grand palaces and temples dominating the skyline, their ziggurats reaching towards the heavens. These structures were not just architectural marvels, but also the centers of Sumerian religious, political, and social life. Here the kings and priests performed rituals, made important decisions, and interacted with the gods on behalf of the people. Beyond these monumental buildings, you'd find the homes of common citizens, from spacious houses of prosperous merchants to modest abodes of farmers and laborers. Despite the differences in their sizes and luxuries, these homes were more than just dwellings. They were microcosms of Sumerian society, where daily life unfolded, traditions were passed down, and the future generation was raised. In this way, the Sumerians established a social order that would set the stage for later civilizations. Their city-states became the blueprint for urban life, their social hierarchy a model for societal organization. As we delve deeper into the fascinating history of Sumer, we'll uncover more about how this ancient civilization shaped the world we know today. Sumerians were not just pioneers in social organization. They also left behind a rich cultural and technological heritage. The Sumerians were the first civilization to leave a written record of their knowledge and beliefs, which has given us a window into their sophisticated world. They made significant contributions to various fields of knowledge. In astronomy, the Sumerians were the first to divide the circle into 360 degrees and the hour into 60 minutes. This mathematical precision is still the standard today. They observed and recorded the movements of the stars, laying the groundwork for future civilizations to navigate the seas and understand the changing of the seasons. Their mathematical system was based on the number 60, which is why we still count 60 seconds in a minute and 60 minutes in an hour. They even developed a form of geometry, which they used to measure fields and construct their impressive buildings. And speaking of buildings, the Sumerians were master architects. They built the world's first cities, complete with complex irrigation systems. They invented the arch and the dome, architectural elements that are still in use today. Their most famous structures, the ziggurats, were towering step pyramids that served as temples to their gods. In terms of culture, the Sumerians had a rich mythology that deeply influenced their daily life and religious practices. Their myths spoke of gods and goddesses, heroes and monsters, and the eternal struggle between order and chaos. These stories were recorded in cuneiform, the world's first written language, on clay tablets. These tablets have preserved their tales, laws, contracts, and even their recipes for beer for over 4,000 years. All these contributions have had a profound and lasting impact on subsequent civilizations. They laid the foundation for the scientific, mathematical, and architectural advances that we take for granted today. The Sumerians, in their time, had indeed become masters of their world. But as with all great civilizations, Sumer too had its twilight. The once flourishing civilization began to fade, eroded by a multitude of factors. Invasion was a significant catalyst. Neighboring societies, enticed by the wealth and prosperity of Sumer, began to encroach upon its borders. The Akkadians, led by Sargon of Akkad, were particularly influential, not only conquering the Sumerians, but also absorbing their culture, technology, and wisdom. However, it wasn't only human conflict that precipitated Sumer's decline. The environment itself seemed to turn against this once dominant civilization. Changes in climate brought about harsh, arid conditions, making agriculture, an essential pillar of Sumerian society, increasingly difficult. As the Sumerians faced these adversities, their distinctive culture gradually faded into the annals of time, swallowed up by the Akkadians and later the Babylonians. And so, The sun set on the Sumerian civilization, but not before it had left an indelible mark on history. Although the Sumerians faded into the annals of history, their legacy lived on. Their ingenious innovations, be it the wheel or the sailboat, have shaped the course of human progress. Their city-states, with their intricate systems of governance and social hierarchy, laid the groundwork for future societies. The Sumerians were also the first to record their thoughts, their laws, and their stories, using a system of writing known as cuneiform. This gift of literacy, the first of its kind, has allowed their wisdom and their tales to endure through the ages. And let's not forget their contributions to the sciences, from their complex understanding of astronomy to their innovative architectural designs. The Sumerians have left an indelible mark on our collective knowledge. The echoes of Sumer still resonate today, reminding us of a civilization that once was, and its profound impact on the world we know today.